Hello, gamers. What's going on? Welcome back to the Noclip Crewcast. This is episode 233. We are so far into this show. We're going to hit number 300 next year. I hope everyone's excited for whatever we do there. We're going to rank 300 games. That's 70-ish episodes away. 67. I can't do math. We missed making a 69 joke. But you know who loves making 69 jokes and is here with us today? Jeremy Jane. Jeremy, how it goes?
It goes great. When you said "I hope" and you were talking about the 300th episode, I thought you were, for some reason, I thought you were going to say "I hope everyone's alive by then." And
I hope that.
I don't know why I thought you were going
living
there
through the
it.
heat death of the universe.
It is 102 degrees here. I have turned off the air conditioner, which I think is probably going to be the last decision I ever make in my life.
Well, hopefully we can get through talking about some video games nice and quick. Although there's one here that I can't. I imagine will take up an hour of our time, and it's coming from the always lovely Frank Howley. Frank, how goes?
It's good. It's so weird. My sleep schedule was so messed up, and then I was able to sleep for I think 8 hours straight finally, and now I feel kind of okay, which is great because it was I don't know. I talked about it last week, but I was nonstop, either editing or driving constantly. And now I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I have mental clarity for a little bit, which is awesome. And then
good,
so I feel good. I feel good.
I'm really glad to hear that. That's great. And it sucks that you were so stressed out, but silver lining, you made a great video, which, isn't just analytically doing well. It's also a lot of fun to watch. I thought it was very well put together. As per always, your vlogs are so good. You find this way to capture the heart of an event, but also you do some great journalism. So thank you for putting that together. If you haven't watched it, listener or viewer, over on Noclip Crew, Frank put together a video about an event for Jet Set Radio, which included some talking points from the developers, the original developers. It was a really cool thing to watch and also hear fans get excited about the game and to see your time there. So yeah, give that a watch if you haven't seen it already. Like I said, doing really well. So I hope it gets more views and more people get to see the awesome work that you do. So congratulations, Frank, to you for getting that out there. And the only reason we're able to make all of this great stuff for you out there, Noclip fans or haters. We know there's some haters out there. Happy Thanksgiving. No, he doesn't say Thanksgiving. I'm not going to say what holiday he says. But the people who support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Noclip, you can get access to all of our cool stuff, support the work that we do. There's a podcast about a Minecraft movie coming out very shortly you can listen to. I think it'll be live by the time you're listening to this episode. But we're going to have lots of fun stuff for you to listen to in that one. If you're not already supporting us, you can do that again at patreon.com/Noclip and join the list of Battle Pass holders. I love that we stuck with that, by the way. We never gave up on it. Jeremy did this last week. Frank, do you want to do this?
Yeah, sure. Let me pull it up. Our Noclip Battle Pass holders, thank you guys so much being in the elite, but all of our listeners are elite. But if you're here, this is a little extra dash of sugar. Thank you so much. Love Preet, Dwayne the Rock Lobster, Anthony Thomas, Nico Pusateri, Izumi Ferrari, Pappy Lappy, Senator Armstrong, Reed Reg, Harry Flanagan, Juice, Arno, Matt Pearson, James Brown, Mark Rojas, Tucker Morgan, Dave McGarry, Goddison, Sven Hooster Pez, John Akers, Hewitt Nate, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Christoph Fatui, Cameron Ladd, Zachary Snader, Alex Guichet, George Sakotas, Jacob Godsurf, and Theogen, James Med, Ryson, and Tohir Tiliev. Thank you all. I love you all so much. And everyone beyond and infinite and in the cosmos beyond. In epochs not even yet breached across space and time.
You have so much love in your heart. I'm so glad you're able to pass it along through the timeline. You're sending it through the wormhole.
You never know how far along someone will listen to this MP3 or .ogg or .wav or whatever we're on.
In the future, they're downloading the flags.
The ending of that was when the Dalai Lama does an address, and he's like, and to all sentient beings, I wish you liberation, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
In your reincarnation, I hope that you still feel the love. Yeah. That's great. All gamers should feel that love. And speaking of love and feeling it, you know what? Let's just get straight into it, because you talked about this game last week as a potential quick look opportunity, and I need to know, Frank. I need to I need you to open up a little bit more of that love in your heart that you seem to be sharing with VTubers and streamers alike. Tell us a little bit about Needy Streamer Overload and what in the good God are you doing in this game?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was weird. Like we had Summer Games Fest. There were so many games, and it was like too many games where it was like choice paralysis. Like, oh my God, there's so much crap I'm excited for. Death Stranding 2 is out. If you got like, even
Which we will not be talking about this week.
Yeah.
Nobody has played it. Danny has,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about it next week.
I still have to beat Death Stranding 1, so I'll rush through that. Although I found out in Japan there's a Domino's collab with Death Stranding 2.
I saw that too. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Kojima did like a little essay about he like picked toppings for a pizza. It was just like a meat lover's pizza, but there was a little essay that was like, ever since childhood, I've been fascinated by like the pizza that would come in American movies in a big box. It was like this very Kojima has this ability to like take lowbrow things and make them highbrow, and take like corporate shit and make it sincere somehow. He's like this.
Yeah.
He's like a rift walker for like the sincere and the insincere. And I imagine they were just like, hey, can we give you whatever $50,000 to pick a pizza topping? And he was like, yeah, but first I'm gonna like riff about how it's like profound as shit.
Yeah. What if we connected the humanity of America to your pizza chain in some way? Yeah, that's that. You're totally right. Isn't the opening, or not the opening, but the download screen for Metal Gear Solid 4 a bunch of like parody commercials?
Oh, there is a bunch of that too. The thing always makes me him smoking cigarettes, but no, there's also stuff where like you're cooking eggs and watching TV, and it's a bunch of just like mishmash, like almost like RoboCop, like just fake commercials of stuff. But it's been so long since I played it. But yeah, he just jimble jambles everything. But yeah, it makes sense too with Domino's too, because you're delivering pizza. So we're going across America. All right, so our main event. No, I don't know. We're opening. All right. So, anyways, I was talking about Summer Games Fest. There's so many games. Death Stranding's coming out. Overwhelmed, and so I still playing Star Wars Battlefront. And get to that later. But yeah, I don't know. I was just looking for random things to play. My friend who lives in Tokyo, funny enough, recommended this game called Needy Streamer Overload. The last time I was in Tokyo, I was in Akihabara with him, and he was in line for like a pop-up art event for this game. I hadn't played it because it's a visual novel, and I don't like visual novels because I just want to smash. I want to hack and slash and not read stuff. So I was like, you could have fun, and I left him there, and he went and had a good time. I don't know. 6 months later, I'm like, crap. Well, okay, let me take a look at this game. I kind of bought it on a whim. And I don't know, a week later, now it's like maybe one of my favorite games ever. It's so good. Okay.
Wow.
So Needy Streamer Overload. Sorry. In Japan, it was called Needy Streamer Overdose. So I think they changed the title to get away from some drug connotations. Because there are lots of drugs in this game. But Needy Streamer Overload. Quick short pitch. This is a, visual novel, dating sim, internet simulator where you are the boyfriend / moderator to an aspiring Twitch streamer e-girl. And the premise is you have 30 days to try to hit 1 million subscribers, and you're coaching her on what to do every single day. So you can guide whether or not to, like, what kinds of streams to do, what things to research for streams, where to go in Tokyo. If you go to Harajuku, you pick out a cute dress, then you do like a dress, like cosplay stream, et cetera, et cetera. So even before playing this game, I was like intimidated because I just do not like visual novels. But I looked at screenshots, and the thing that sold me on this game is it's very much like Hypnospace Outlaw. The game itself exists within like a fake Windows 95 like desktop, and you're clicking between like your chat messaging with your girlfriend, the actual streaming OBS software. There's a fake Twitter. There's like icons you can do. You can go out to Tokyo. So the game actually exists within Tokyo, and there's a map, and it's all the actual like all the otaku highlights of Tokyo are there. So you can go to Akihabara, Harajuku, Nakano Broadway. There's a fake Disneyland there, and so like there's so many things in this game that I was immediately tickled by. Like, oh god, I want to see everything in this game. The like soundtrack is very like Denpa inspired, which is the whole like hyper extreme J-pop, like chibi 8-bit like crash synth, like just so much like sugar noise is what I would kind of describe that type of music. So the soundtrack is just like crazy. Again, kind of like Hypnospace Outlaw. The graphic style is that like super like pink bubble pop. So it's such an overwhelming like, yeah, sugar rush, like everything I like about like that hyper otaku stuff. But then playing the game, it is so like funny and accurate. So it's a team of Japanese developers, and like there's a lot of like very specific like otaku references. Like I mean, this is even that basic, but like you're like she'll post, you'll like one of the options you can do is like video streaming. You can watch YouTube videos or whatever. You watch a movie and she'll post reviews of like, I just watched Shin Godzilla and it's so crazy to see Tokyo destroyed. What like stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so it exists within the real world, kind of. Everything has a knockoff name. But yeah, the more you play the game like. I kind of want to. The only real happy ending of the game is if you quit the internet. Every other ending is like horrific and funny. Like this game has 30 different endings or something like that. And so the first several times I played it, like so as you're playing the game, you have a few meters. One is your follower count. One is your stress levels, and like the more you stream, the higher stress you get. The types of streams you do. You can do lewd streams, but that also corrupts your mental darkness. So there's a mental darkness stat that goes up or down. There's also a affection, how much she has affection for you. So there's like, and if you tip any of these scales all the way 0 or all the way to 100 or even beyond, it'll kind of skew what ending you get. So you can do something where like, I don't know, like if you spend too much time with your girlfriend and not enough time streaming, she forgets streaming and just wants to spend 24/7 with you. You can do things where like she's also texting you every day, so if you give her like negligent replies, she won't care about you and be dismissive and start like spending time with other boys online and things like that.
Wait, so is this like an immersive sim for dating? Like it's wild.
It's so that's what I'm saying. It was like every choice. It's like
Does this stuff feel systems driven, or is it more like a choose your own adventure thing? Like you're not raising the bar enough?
You are. It's like I feel like it's pretty. It becomes like I played the game enough now where I can kind of immediately see like what the cycles are. It doesn't do like the. I always equate this to like House of the Dead. When you finish a run, it shows the 20 different branching paths and which thing you did. But if you get to an ending at any point, there's 30 days. You can always like reload your save to a certain day or just start over. It maybe takes an hour to do a full 30 days. And so yeah, so it's like there's also different branching types of streams. So if you just want to be like a very like basic type thing where it's like you can play games and you're researching games, you're going to Akihabara you just click a button, it shows a little text thing of this is what you guys did for the day. But then you'll be a game streamer, but your viewer count won't go up, and she'll kind of get disinterested in streaming and it's not a priority, etc. Or if you end up like I don't know, or going on like what the equivalent of like 2chan or whatever, you'll start getting into net lore and conspiracy theories and drug boards, and then she'll.
Can you get red pilled in this game?
I think there is. I'm trying to think like there is. There's like you go on message boards and you start doing like government conspiracy. There's a government conspiracy route. There's a cult leader route where you get heavily invested into drugs, and I think there's like shades of cult stuff in there. There's like. There's you're basically become a lewd streamer. Eventually, you get banned for screening your a sex tape online. I don't know. There's stuff on there.
Oh my god! Does the game get lewd? Like, does it? You don't see anything, or
no?
do
You don't see anything.
Okay.
There's like highly suggested stuff. She does like a popsicle review for one of her streams. Like, there's
oh no,
yeah. There's that's one route. There's one route.
So sorry. So how does this all play out visually? Like when you're doing the streaming, maybe not necessarily. You don't have to describe the popsicle stream, but like if you're streaming Shingon or playing a game or whatever, how does it represent that?
So you'll have your like. Your Twitch window up. There'll be the streamer girl. Everything is done in like the PC 98 pixel art, and the pixel art is gorgeous. Like it's very like again, it's old school.
Yeah,
it
looks really
super
good. The screenshots.
So the streamer girl is there, and you're her moderator. So you're looking at chat comments coming in, and you want to delete it. You don't have to. You can be negligent, but you're trying to like delete bad comments, and if you do successfully pick like erase, it's like Hypnospace when you're trying to like moderate the internet. If you delete bad comments, her stress will go down. If you leave them up, her stress will go up. You can also highlight her super chats for her to respond to. So you can like shove her like offensive comments or shove her uplifting comments, and that will affect her mood. And like that eventually cascades into like what endings you get. And so it'll do a thing, and you can like skip through them. You can change the speeds, but the actual like storytelling and scenes are very, very funny. Like it's very like. I don't know. It feels like it's like a game by otaku for otaku. So it's very like, like self-deprecating just about otakus. And it's like, oh yeah. And after every stream, the streamer will go on Twitter and make like a public post. It's like, I loved you all. I'm your internet angel. It was so great. And then you'll see a tweet from her private. It's like, oh my god, I fucking hate nerds. And it's like all I want to do is spend time with my peach. So it's just like. It's such a funny game, and again, even using the term game, I don't know, visual novel. It's this area I'm not too familiar with. Like I like even after Tim Rogers' video, I did try playing a little bit of was it Tokideki Memorial? Is that Tokimeki. This game is also very similar, I would say, in tone to like Doki Doki Literature Club, which is kind of the same thing. It starts very cute, wholesome, and then it gets very dark. I feel like this game gets dark after like day 4. Like this game is, I don't know. It's weird to say dark because it's just like it's so absurd that you can't take it seriously. But yeah, it's I don't know. You could even maybe throw the word like edgelord or whatever, but it feels so, I don't know, earns like the stuff they're referencing and like. I don't know. It feels like, oh no, they really get it, and I'm genuinely like loving. I don't know. I really really like it, and like a big highlight too is like you can do the stuff online, but the stuff going out when it has the Tokyo map, it has every single neighborhood, and I was blown away because it's like, I don't know. I know I can't stop coming to the show and talking about games that take place in Tokyo, but this is one of these games that takes place in Tokyo, and
that's great.
It's phenomenal.
Good.
It's phenomenal. So I like it a lot.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, just visually when you sent it, I was looking at the screenshots and doing a little like, what kind of game is this, Frank? What are we looking at? So you actually described it and make it sound a lot more interesting than I was expecting it to be. Like just from the screenshots, I was like, I don't know, but it sounds like there's more to this. And if you're saying Doki Doki Literature Club,
yeah.
I think for some people there's excitement there. I feel like that's weirdly a thing that happens a lot with visual novels. Like there's that new one, Date Everything, that people are sort of dogging on for being subversive, but like not, it's one of those. It's like no respect for the genre, but I feel like people throw that around because it's like being subversive. I don't know. It's a weird spot, that conversation. But I wanted to mention something because you brought him up. Jay Tholen, lead developer on Hypnospace Outlaw, Slayer's X. Sorry, he didn't work on Slayer's X. That was somebody else. That was the real developer.
Zach Rocks. Zane Rocks 13 or whatever. Yeah.
That's right. It was Zane Rocks. It wasn't Jay Tholen. And Dropsy, one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games of all time, announced recently that the sequel to Hypnospace Outlaw, Dream Settler, or spiritual successor at least, has been canceled because it's sort of gone out of scope and become bigger than they could afford to make it. He had a very long relative to reading a tweet video describing the situation. It was very heartfelt and very sad to see. We all love Jay's work, and I think you guys did a documentary with him in the past, right? Or some sort of interview?
During quarantine, we did a podcast interview with him about the making of Hypnospace Outlaw, and it was like, he was so like sweet and like following on Twitter and Blue Sky forever. Like, yeah, he's such an awesome guy. But yeah, when they announced Dream Settler was canceled, it was like, oh my god, it was, I don't know, everyone outpouring of support, just like kind of gut wrenching, but he had a video just explaining what was happening.
Yeah, it's tough out there. Feels like it's hard even for indies that have that sort of storied success to find the ability to finish the projects recently. I mean, I think I've heard of like 4 or 5 things getting canceled in the last couple of weeks. Like, yeah, just long-term projects that never got to reach the end of their lives. It's tough out there. Now I don't know if you guys saw the Bloomberg article too of Microsoft's laying off more people again.
It's fucking brutal, man.
Never ends.
I hope they find a way to salvage some of the work that was done on Dream Settler. Whether that's like taking the the code base and finding a new project that's smaller to work on, or even just like releasing some bits of it as like a what could have been kind of thing. But yeah, I mean that's like easier said than done because it is extra work on top of, like, you run out of money and then it's like, let's invent more work to do for free.
Yeah, put out some free stuff
exactly.
for us to all see.
But I don't know. It would be interesting to talk to Jay at some point about that situation. I mean, it's a little the wound is too fresh to email him and be like, hey, do you want to like talk about this traumatic shit that happened?
Do you want to bare your soul again for an hour?
Yeah, but it would be an interesting conversation to have.
How interested are you into yelling Cameron Ladd? How much
these are our battle pass holders, if you could just read that off. But no, I think like when the time is right, and obviously this situation may develop, who knows what he's on to next, but it'd be interesting to talk to him about this, because I know that there was some sort of like the publisher, it was something to do with like the publisher pulling funding. Am I
really?
I maybe
I might have misheard that.
I watched the video when it popped up, but I may be misremembering something. Regardless, they lost like funding. They didn't have funding for it. But it'd be interesting to like explore that with him and just talk about we do a lot of interviews with people that are like, how do games get made? How do you make like Foley?
Yeah, wasn't it so cool that you finished this and had $4 billion?
Yeah, but they're for every great game that comes out, there are a lot of other games that either don't get finished or they lose funding, or they're mired in scope creep and development hell. So I think it'd be interesting to talk to him about what that's like and sort of how you how you rally from that, how you pick up the pieces, and don't just be like, well, I guess I can never make video games.
Totally, yeah. More stuff that talks about the realities of making games. It's not always easy and fun and exciting. Even when you hear about a good project that comes out in a documentary from Noclip, it's like, oh, it was so good and it was so much fun, but it was also hard. It's like there are equally interesting stories from games that will never see the light of day. So yeah, more realistic conversation would be something I'd like to see more of. And Jay seems like very candid in that regard. So I think that'd be a good conversation too. When the time is right. Frank, what are you playing Needy Streamer Overload on? It's on Steam?
Yeah, so it came out on Steam back in like 2022, and funny enough, it was released on Nintendo Switch, so it's not that lewd of a game. It's not that explicit. But yeah, the PS5 version had come out in January, which I think is what that whole Akihabara pop-up was for. So it's only like $15 or $16, and yeah, I think I played maybe, I feel like 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, and I feel like I've gotten most of the endings, and I'm like, there's stuff you can grind and try to like min-max it, but I'm like, oh no, I was very satisfied. I've been listening to the soundtrack on bike rides and stuff. And the reason I started playing this is like, my friend always sends me links of figures and stuff I might like, and I saw a figure of the girl from this game, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotta play this game. What's this about? So that there's figures coming out of this character. It's very cute. So
yes,
but yeah, it's on PS4, PS5, Switch, Steam. Playing on PS5 works very well because it's like you're just clicking around on a Windows desktop, so it's pretty easy to maneuver and play. So yeah, I really liked it, and now it's just one of those like Doki Doki. There's also another game I need to check out called Me Side that also seemed kind of similar of like a obsessive girlfriend that might try to kill you, but that's a genre I like, so. I'm happy to play them all. But yeah, Needy Streamer Overload. If you're an otaku, if you like this anime stuff, I think it's very funny. Again, it's kind of like dark and edgy, but it's funny. I think it's great. So I really liked it. I feel like if you look at trailers, you'll know if it's your cup of tea or not. And yeah, there are like crazy anime music videos and stuff inside it. So it's so hyper otaku, but also very satirical. And like as someone who does Twitch streaming, also it's very like meta, and it's like and again, it is really funny. Can't be overstated. Like. Yeah, the only the only happy ending is like, oh yeah. In order to get the good ending, this is just a little last nugget. It's very like Kojima-esque. You literally have to quit the internet. So you have to go in your PlayStation system menu, turn off your connection to the internet.
Oh.
And then on the last day, you're like, streaming's not for me. Goodbye. Your internet angel is leaving you. And like, oh, you got the happy ending. You quit streaming. And it's like, oh my God, like, which is very, very funny.
Really cool.
Yeah, but you have to specifically disconnect the internet to unlock that ending. If you're connected to the internet, it won't let you get that. And it's like, oh, that's amazing.
It's funny because like I was curious about the feedback on this game, and it's mostly positive, but there's like I saw one negative review that's like, this is like exploitative, like manic pixie girl bullshit. I feel like that person kind of missed the point. It feels to me, from what you're saying about this game, it feels very like intentionally satirical and over the top. Like I don't think this is a game where it's like, and this is like a normal streamer girl, e-girl experience, and you're her normal boyfriend. I think this is like, it's supposed to be like, do you play into this weird, like obsessive, sort of like lifestyle where you're like micromanaging a girl to her demise.
Yeah, isn't that like a totally normal thing to like manipulate her emotions to get the sort of conclusion you want? Like you're not supposed to feel good playing this, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's like that. That's why I was like blown away. It's like, yeah, by day 3, it's like, oh, this is fucked up. Oh, I'm gonna keep going. This is awesome. Like it's immediate. Like, oh, this is not healthy. This is horrific. Like. There's like 6,000 red flags as soon as you start, and it's like, there's another. The easiest ending to get, if you forget to reply to every text message, she blocks you and breaks up with you. So you specifically have to reply, and the only way you can reply to her text messages is by sending emojis, like cat. You just reply with cat emojis. She'll send you like paragraphs, and you just reply with a cat emoji that says okay.
That's worse than not replying. That's like the that's like fucked up.
But if you use the same emoji too many times, it's like she calls you out on it. And like, it's like, it's so
You got weak game, brother. You got to step up your game.
I know, but like, I'll get so deep into like, I want to go down this route, and I'm like speeding through stuff, and then I'll forget to text her back, and you fail. And it's like, crap, you have to reload the save. But it's like, even that
This is
funny.
Too realistic, man. I don't want to play this anymore.
No, it is so funny. Yeah, it's I don't know. It did unlock some memories. I was like, oh my God. But I don't know. I was charmed by it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. Again, like Hypnospace Outlaw, it's like, it's more than it's like, It's so funny because it is kind of like contemporary nostalgia where it's like it's packaging internet streamer girl VTuber culture in one thing. But this came out 2022 and it's hype. It's even more. It's just as relevant today. I'm sure even 10 years from now, who knows how different the internet will be. It's such a good time capsule. And I also feel like it's kind of thing with like, a big reason why I'm obsessed with Akihabara and follow 6 billion Tokyo things is like they're always a year ahead of like anime culture. What's in America? Like by the time shit's in Anime Expo Los Angeles 2025, that's stuff that's already been all over Akihabara in like 2024. Like, and maybe it's less so because now Crunchyroll simulcast stuff. But point being is like, yeah, you'll find out what's hot in Tokyo, then it hits stateside like a year later. So that's why I'm late to this game. But hey, if you haven't, or if you've played this, recommend me more stuff like this. But that's why I'm like, I know I'm late to the game, but like, oh my god, this is so sick. So Needy Streamer Overload, the Japanese title, Needy Streamer Overdose. I don't know. It's awesome. It's great. So
okay? So clearly there are drug references in this. Are they fictional drugs or is it like Adderall?
Are you like hitting ketamine?
Okay,
like,
so what I
doing?
heard is in the Steam version, it was straight up like Xanax and whatever. And then when they port it to PS5, I think they change it. So instead of taking acid, you're taking magical paper instead of
magical paper. Yo, you gotta get that magical paper, man.
Yeah, instead of weed,
You got any
it's like
stamps?
I think magical cigarettes. There's like
that one's cool.
magical
That's
macaroons.
so explicit.
And like that's how you if you hit 100 stress, one of the only options you can do is to like take magical. I think they're called magicals. And then your stress limit pushes to 120, so you can handle more stress. But then before streaming, you have to take magicals, and then like there's just streams where she's like zonked out, or just like, and people in the chat's like, "What's wrong with her? Oh, she's so cute." Like
she's using magic.
This
dude.
sounds like a horror movie.
It is, and that's why.
Oh my God.
And it's like. There's 30 different endings, and they're all messed up. And it's like, oh, this is awesome. It's such a,
dude. It's like you're like hyper pop Jigsaw from the Saw series. Like,
yes,
Jigsaw.
If
That's
Jigsaw
wild.
was if Jigsaw was like a,
if Jigsaw was your boyfriend,
was like an Akihabara maid. Yeah, it's like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
Or if Jigsaw
was your otaku boyfriend just
I
like,
want to play a little game.
do you want to play
all
a
your
game?
life you've been craving attention.
It's really, and it's like it's satire and all that. Like it's so good. It's I don't know. I love it.
This game sounds awesome.
Well, I need to check this out. I when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this seems like a Frank game, but this sounds like on a whole nother
I think
level.
I need to light up a couple magical cigarettes tonight and check this game out.
Yeah, before you fire this one up, for sure.
Eat some magical.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think eating magical paper and playing this game might become Ted Kaczynski if I do that.
You might pick the wrong ending if you have your magical
speaking
paper
of magical
in your hands.
paper, you mentioned the cult thing. Were you alluding to
Yes.
Om Shinrikyo, the cult stuff? It references that.
I think there's like a handful of cult stuff. And I feel like that's the most relevant. I mean, actually, there's a lot of cults. I'll see like so many travel things on Reddit where it was like, these two men came to me and said they would drive me to their temple. Should I get in their car? No.
What the fuck?
They had a loudspeaker.
Absolutely
They were
not.
so loud. Yeah.
I don't know.
They were asking about my thetan levels. It was
Yeah.
Om Shinrikyo, for people who don't know, is God, it's been so many years since I read about this, but they were a cult in Japan that, if I recall correctly, took a bunch of LSD and were led by this guy who claimed to be a prophet, and then they did like a bioterror attack on the subway or something.
dude, the Japanese just did their own Manson
Yeah,
family?
basically.
That's wild.
It's the reason there's no trash cans in Tokyo is because they hid like sarin
That's the
gas
reason?
in like trash bags, and they planted them in trash bags. They planted them underneath like subway car seats. I was reading a book on it, and like what they did is like they would have these trash bags planted, and then they would like they stabbed them with like umbrellas to let the gas out, and like
Oh my God.
So Murakami, I got halfway reading the book, and this happens a lot. I'll start reading like a true crime book, and I'll get so bummed that I stop. But he put a book out about the cults. It's called like Murakami Train. Sorry, let me just pull up for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
good.
This stuff is it's grim, but it's so interesting.
This is way more interesting
It's
than
called,
anything else. we could talk
Haruki
about.
Murakami's Underground, the Tokyo Gas Attack, and the Japanese Psyche. So in this book, he interviews like 30 people, and he interviews like surviving cult members. He interviews like people who were working the Japan railways like the morning of the attack. He interviews like office workers who were just on their commute and got sick, or spouses of people who passed. It's like, oh, it's such. I started reading it like, oh, I'm going to Japan. I want to learn about the subway, and it was like, oh god, this is
Worst possible
Yeah,
thing you
and
could
It's like reading a book
No,
about
and, like-
9/11 because you're gonna take a
I
plane.
know. I don't. And like I've read Murakami's nonfiction. He has one of the best books I ever read is called like What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. I think that's what it's called. What I talk about when I talk about running, but it's a book about writing and how like you need to do something that's not your creative art in order to fuel the creative art, and it's such a good, it's such a fascinating book. And I've read like some of his fiction, and he's known for his fiction, but it's like it's like when Stephen King writes like nonfiction. It's so good.
That's
But,
my favorite Stephen King book, actually, is On Writing.
Oh,
I'm not even a huge fan of Stephen King's like fiction writing. Like I like Stephen King influenced stuff more than I like Stephen King's actual writing. Because a lot of it is just like, what if I did a bunch of coke and wrote about like the fucking skeeviest shit ever?
It's the Family Guy bit you brought up. It's the lamp.
Well, that too. But even when it's like, you know, a scary interstellar clown, and I'm like, well, that's actually legitimately scary. It's like, and then there's like weird shit with kids, and I'm like, I'm tapping out of this one.
Yeah. Why does it have to open with the weird?
Yeah. We don't even need to like fucking get into it. But anyway, yeah, On Writing, if you've never read it by Stephen King, is a book that is both, it's half autobiography and half writing guide, like creative manual. And it's like, I don't know, it's legitimately moving. It's also weird because he worked like the exact like shitty job that my dad had as a kid. So in a weird way, it was like in New England, there are like, you know, Stephen King is famously from like Maine and stuff. He worked a job where he would clean up, like they would cater events for tourists, if I recall correctly. And they would like just wrap up these disposable tablecloths with all the like crab and lobster shells in them. And I think he was like the guy who had to, or maybe they weren't disposable. I think he had to like empty them and wash the tablecloths. So he was just like miring in like old rotten seafood and shit. And like you see these details from Stephen King's life and you're like, oh, I could see why this guy writes fucked up books, because he spent an entire summer in like rotten lobster shells. Anyway,
yeah, I was going to say the extra thing is like he wrote Carrie because he was a high school English teacher, and he was like, "Oh, the cruelest people in the world are high school girls."
Yeah.
Like that's what he wrote Carrie. It was like the stuff. Yeah, it's so yeah, because he lived for like 30, 40 years just doing like him and his wife at Tabitha, I think, was also a teacher. He was a janitor. He had all these like real world grit experiences, and then when he started writing, it was like, yeah, let me tell you this shit I've seen.
Yeah, totally.
That's
and then
awesome.
he wrote 100 books about cars that like eat people.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's really fascinating. It's also just like, it's very humanizing to see how much he was struggling before he had his breakthrough. Like I think there's one chapter that legitimately brought me to tears where I think it might be, was Carrie was his breakout, right?
Yeah.
It was like when the publisher, his like agent, called him and said that a publisher had like bought the rights to it or whatever, or publishing rights. I don't know how book publishing works, but it was like the first big paycheck he got. And he was talking about like his like kids had like the flu and he like couldn't buy medicine for them, and he got this call and just like broke down. It's fucking, On Writing is such a good book. Even if you don't read the creative manual shit about like, you know, don't say like this type of word, like just fucking read the autobiography shit. It's crazy.
That sounds, really fascinating. I should check that out because I feel like that angle of Stephen King was something I wasn't even aware of, that there was so much to it. It's, you know, he's the joke author everyone brings up when they want to mention someone who writes too many books somehow. So that's really cool to hear that he had all that history. What's it called again? On Writing?
Yeah.
Grab it at Barnes and Noble today.
his wife is also the unsung hero, because I think when he was writing Carrie, if I recall correctly, he like thought it sucked and threw it out, I feel like his wife like fished it out of the trash and read it. There's like an anecdote like that, and she was like, all right, well, like, let me read this. And she was like, okay, well, like young girls wouldn't say this, but here's another. Like, she was sort of the same way that George Lucas's wife like saved Star Wars in the edit. I feel like Stephen King's wife is the unsung hero who like saved Carrie.
Look, let's be honest for a second. Every man's wife or partner is always going to be the unsung hero. Like, if it wasn't every single time, it's like actually their partner was the cool one who made all the interesting
It does
decisions.
seem to be a tragically prevalent theme.
Yeah. We got to stop saying Stephen King and start saying, what's his wife's name? See, I'm already playing the game.
Is it Tabitha? Yeah, it's something like that.
He always
Then we need to
writes,
say
like,
Tabitha's husband. That's when we talk about Stephen King. That's the real.
That's just,
yeah,
That's
Tabitha.
what I do with
down a
Obama
peg.
now. It's Michelle Obama's
Michelle's
husband. Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing too. Also, as being the savior, is like in the 80s, he was constantly on coke, and then I think his family had to do an intervention. He was like, "Oh, okay, sorry, I'll do a less coke." No.
Then he wrote The Langoliers, and
Yeah.
that was the origin for that one.
It was the Tommy Knockers. It's apparently, which I have a hardcover, I haven't read yet, but apparently that was like the worst book because he wrote it on a coke binge. But I'm like, I need to read that. Like, I love Bret Easton Ellis's books because he writes them on coke and they're crazy, and no one should do that. But one man did, and now that is a reason why you shouldn't. But like, I don't know. It's you know, whatever. Look, I feel like I'm gonna get so many bad comments. I'm not. I don't know. It's
No.
just it's like it's when you watch movies from the 70s. They don't do that shit anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know.
jazz.
Like
It's a bunch of jazz musicians stopped doing drugs, and it's like, that's not as good.
Yeah,
I'm
some of the
sorry.
best
it's
jazz
not.
ever was fueled by heroin. It doesn't mean we endorse
Yeah,
heroin.
dude, Chance the
It's just-
Rapper. Chance the Rapper was doing all those drugs. He was smoking
then he got
weed,
off
and the
them,
music
and now
was good,
he's
and then he
like-
loved his wife, and it was
he's
bad.
doing songs that are like, my wife is really nice to me, and you're like,
But you know what? They're divorced, so maybe he'll do some drugs and make some good music.
I wouldn't wish
Steve-
that on him, but sorry, go ahead, Frank.
No, because Stephen King also directed a film on coke. It was it's another one where machines eat people. But like the cinema, there was a stunt where like I don't know, someone gets eaten by a lawnmower and like actual wood splinters shot out of the lawnmower and impaled the cinematographer's eye, and the guy lost
Oh,
an
my
eye
God.
and sued Stephen King, and I think he just paid out of pocket for it with his fucking It money. But like that movie is incredible. Stephen King's movie, and the soundtrack is by AC/DC. It is.
Oh,
wait,
wow.
What is
it
this called? I have to see this.
Oh my God. Sorry. Let me
I'm
see.
gonna. Can we find a way for Noclip to pay me to go up and do like a? I don't live that.
Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Oh, that movie? Is
Maximum
that's
Overdrive.
the one?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
my
directed
God.
on coke. The cinematographer lost an eye from a lawnmower accident. The soundtrack is by AC/DC. It's it's like I equate it's like a trauma film. It's trash, but it's awesome. Like it's great trash. Like one of those movies to watch with friends. It's awesome.
Is that
And
the movie with the sentient tire, or is that a different movie?
No,
thinking
that's
of?
so it's about like it's like trucks eat trucks. It's like I think all machines go crazy, but that's specifically like
Yeah.
trucks are chasing down people. But there's a scene where like
Okay.
a vending machine is shooting soda cans at a children's baseball team. It's so funny.
It is truly ironic to be like the cinematographer on a movie about machines going haywire, and then you get attacked by a machine.
Yeah, that's cursed.
What are the goddamn chances?
When you look up Maximum Overdrive, it has like the details, the overview, and one of them says adapted from Trucks, and it means the short story Trucks by Stephen King. But I like to imagine this just like from the concept of trucks.
based on a true
based on
story,
it-
it's just a guy who was on the
Yeah,
highway.
just based on like trucks. Oh yeah, what inspired you to write this? Just like trucks mostly.
Well, I was driving to work yesterday. I saw this really big vehicle, and I looked into it. Have you guys heard of
I've
trucks?
just figured like, what if that was scarier?
The like log line or the description on Wikipedia is like, yeah, it follows the events after all machines, including trucks, radios, arcade games, vending machines, become sentient when Earth crosses the tail of a comet, initiating a worldwide killing spree.
That's what I love. Okay,
God.
I will give this to Stephen King. He has this ability to take like the dumbest premise and elevate it in the most metaphysical way, where it's like, yeah, what if like toilets started sucking people into the sewer? And you're like, I mean, I don't know about that. And he's like, yeah, but it's like, because God is angry with us. And you're like, all right, now I'm
Yes.
back in.
Every time. Every time. What's it set up? He's like an alien. Spoilers.
It's oh god, it's like the town of Derry has a corrupted, an evil corruption, and every 30 years, evil manifests in the form of a clown, and that clown itself manifests in your worst fear. And every child,
Right.
every person has their own fear, but the real worst evil are the humans of Derry, the adults who don't listen to the children. And it's like that, and it's like. Yeah, we should all be kinder and listen to each other is the thing. But yeah, literally, like evil manifests itself every 30 years, and these kids are the one that break the cycle. Dude, the opening chapter of it is like one of the best short stories ever. It is. I think it's the thing
Really?
that's. It's like even in the film adapts, it's the kid chasing the paper boat down the sewer, and the clown's like, oh, we all play down here. We all float down
Georgie.
here. But the way it's written in the book, it might be a different. I think that's like chapter 2, but chapter 1. I just remember reading it back to back, and then within a month, I had finished that 800-page book. Like it is so good. But yeah, it's so good. It's and then
I
but
should read some Stephen King. I've only ever seen
phenomenal.
adaptations.
phenomenal. I would recommend. He has a short story collection called
Yeah,
Skeleton
please.
Crew. The first,
Okay.
it's the first opening. The novella is The Mist, which inspired Half-Life. So
Right.
So Skeleton Crew is in there. I think Skeleton Crew also has a short story in there. That's like a drug dealer. His plane crashes on an island, and in order to survive, he starts eating himself. So he has to take heroin to numb the pain.
Oh my
and he starts
God.
eating himself. It's called Survivor
Wow.
Type. Again, I've read so much Stephen King. This is like now I'm just opening. Guys, you guys want to talk about Stephen? I love Stephen King. Here's the secret. Here's the tip. At least in Orange County, maybe everywhere. If you go to used bookstores, Stephen King is one of the most published authors of all time. You can buy Stephen King books for like $1 at any used bookstore. Specifically in like Orange County, all Orange County libraries have the Friends of the Library. it's like the library's like donation used bookstore. I went and like before pandemic, I feel like there was a spike. Everyone started reading more, but I bought like 100 Stephen King books for like $1 each. So I have like a library of every Stephen King book because I was just going to every library and just scooping up Stephen King hardcovers before like the resurgence in popularity. And so
before the scalpers got in.
I just binged so much of it. So I can guide you anywhere on Stephen King. And same thing, people listening or watching, leave comments on your favorite Stephen King. Yeah, there is.
Bet you weren't expecting that from a gaming podcast, were you?
No, I love Stephen King. It's so and Jeremy also. I like reading Stephen King because same thing. Both raised in New England around the same time. So the euphemisms that Stephen King writes, this like, I mean, it's like pre-boom. I don't know. This old like, hey, that hits harder than a can of Coke on a diet, whatever.
Yeah.
He just writes like corny old man
Totally.
stuff. But that's how my dad talked. So Stephen King, like, it's the same euphemisms as my dad. So like when I read Stephen King now, it's like, oh, it reminds me of my dad because that's my dad talk, New England old guy stuff. And then the last nugget. 11/11/22/63. His JFK time travel book, I think, is like one of my all-time favorite books. So I recommend that one too.
The James Franco book.
Yeah,
Sorry,
don't. The miniseries is so cheesy, but the actual book is good. The premise is, I don't know. A guy walks into like a meat locker and he time travels back to the 60s. But the idea is he wants to stop JFK's murder. He accidentally time travels too far back and has to live like a decade until JFK's life, but he falls in love with the 50s, and it's this very like boomerism of like, hey, life was better before before Clinton and before smartphones and computers. So he's like, oh crap, I gotta go to work in 3 years and prevent JFK's murder, but I got a wife, I got an easy job teaching. Like, he's a genius living in the 50s. But then the Stephen King cosmic horror creeps in, and like he starts experiencing like extreme cosmic intervention where like the universe doesn't want him to get to Dallas to prevent the JFK murder. Like he's trying to get to a phone booth and a truck crashes into the phone booth to make a critical call.
Dude, it always goes back to trucks.
Is the reveal that like Lee Harvey Oswald is like a sentient,
he starts
plant
like
or something?
he starts like spying on him, and like it's like, but he does like this cosmic horror. It's the best. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, it's so good. It's really
there's
good.
I wish I could remember his name. I bet I can find it. There is a really interesting story around the JFK assassination with Lee Harvey Oswald, where this guy, I think it was either, it might have been Greg Hill or Kerry Wendell Thornley. It was one of the OG Discordianism guys who were like, God, this is such a rabbit hole. How can I summarize this in one sentence? It's like a fake religion sort of that these dudes invented as sort of like an anti-religion. But if I recall correctly, they talk about this in one of the Adam Curtis's documentaries. There was a guy who wrote a book about the president getting assassinated by a guy, and the guy who assassinated him in the book was like a 1-to-1 match with Lee Harvey Oswald's biography. And so when the JFK assassination happened, there was like a guy out there who wrote a book that like all of the details matched up, and he was also the founder of like a fake religion about like imposing your will onto the universe. And it's like this awesome little like cosmic joke of if you wrote a book about something happening and then you had a fake religion about how you can like use magic to like make things happen, but you were joking, and then the thing you wrote about in the book actually happened, you'd be like, oh fuck, like did I accidentally like reverse engineer inventing magic? I'll have to it's been a while since I saw the Adam Curtis documentary that talks about this and read about it, but anyway, it sounds like something out of a Stephen King document or a Stephen King book.
No, that's wild. If that was going to happen to anyone's situation, it was going to be JFK. I feel like before and after there was so much surrounding him in terms of conspiracy. So that makes perfect sense. If it was fully true, who knows? Maybe they're all liars.
Maybe
Adam Curtis is in on it.
He could be. I don't know. I trust him weirdly. I have like an inherent trust of Adam Curtis, but it could just be his accent.
That's how they get you.
You know. He's just,
and then something
where's he from?
And then something unexpected happened.
Oh, is he British?
Yeah, Adam Curtis is the one who like has access to BBC's entire video library, so he just makes like he makes like 10-hour YouTube essays.
Yeah.
No, he makes these like profound like video essays, like even before YouTube was a concept, like that just ties insane theories together, but like is telling our contemporary history as we're living in it. Like even like before Trump took office, he made a film called like Hypernormalization.
It's the best
like,
one.
hey, this Trump shit's happening. You guys see this?
Hypernormalization also talks directly about the relationship between America and Iran in a way that like literally
That maybe you should watch it right
like
now.
Hypernormalization. I mean, it's a fucking, I highly recommend it with the caveat that it's a movie that you'll see archival footage of like actual dead bodies. This is like not to be taken lightly. But it is probably the best like explainer of how we got to where we are and sort of like the relationship between America and Iran that like directly leads to like fundamentalism and directly also leads to like kind of where we are now. It's baffling. It should be like required viewing. They should show it in public school.
Oh, settle down. We don't have enough time for that. Okay, we got to read the Bible every day.
Do you read the Bible
right,
every day in public school? Isn't that like the one thing you can't do in public school?
For now.
That was ominous. I thought you were gonna.
And then something unusual.
They're bringing it back.
And then Jesse advocated for reading the Bible in school.
No, not me. No, I wouldn't do that.
Well, I'll advocate for video games.
Yes. I'll advocate for hearing about Dark Souls 2 if anyone wants to perhaps evangelize their love for that game.
I'll talk about Dark Souls 2.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy.
I've been playing Dark Souls 2. It was actually inspired by Stephen King. No, that's not true.
That explains a lot.
I made that up.
George R.R. Martin did Elden Ring. Stephen King.
It's probably the most Stephen King of all the Dark Souls games, though. I'm not going to elaborate on that at all. Just a feeling I have.
Don't.
So I played like 35 hours of Night Rain over the last several weeks.
Wow.
And I liked it a lot, but it's like it's the best.
You want some meat
on
the bone?
Like the best FromSoft game of 2025, but it's also the only one. So, like I'll take what I can get, and I loved it, and I think it's very fun, but it's like, I don't know. It left me with this hollow feeling that I get when I play most roguelikes,
you turned hollow.
Which is that like, you get into the fucking slot machine zone, and you're just like, I'll do another one, and you're just fucking chain queuing games of Apex Legends with your friends until 6 a.m. That's not a roguelike, but I feel like it hits the same machine zone feeling.
It's fun. Are you talking shit on Apex Legends?
No, I'm not. It's an excellent game.
Okay.
I actually like Apex Legends, but that's irrelevant. The feeling I got from Night Rain was sort of like, it is such a concentrate, like the combat in Souls games is so fun that it's just like mechanically brilliant, but it left me with this feeling where it's like, I wasn't having like a grand adventure. I wasn't like, pushing into new territory. I wasn't like exploring new places. I was just going to this map that changed slightly sometimes. And I was fighting a set of like predetermined bosses. And then like, the route through it changes sometimes, but it's like, you just go, you're rushing through, you're optimizing, you're min-maxing. It's kind of like, it's very fun in the way that chain smoking cigarettes is very fun, but I needed something to like nourish my soul, and so I was like, "Fuck, I just want to."
So now you're playing a cigar instead of smoking
no.
cigarettes.
Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin is not a cigar. It's like
okay.
It's probably more like cocaine. Honestly, I don't know.
Wow.
We'll have to.
I don't know. Not speaking from experience.
Well, me neither, hypothetically. But no, I just wanted to play like a fucking real ass Souls game, and I loved Elden Ring too. I was talking in the Discord, the Noclip Discord, about this as well. I loved Elden Ring, and like the DLC was pretty good and stuff. But like, there is something in the transposition of the Souls experience onto an open world that is lost in the process. This sort of like semi-linear experience of going through a Souls world, and then you hit up against, the smelter demon or whatever, and you're like, all right, I can fight this guy. And then 40 attempts later, you're like, fuck, I have to kill this guy or I will not be able to move on with my day. And you can like bounce off those bosses and go do other stuff. You can, with the exception of Sekiro, you can kind of like go and grind out guys if you want and do whatever. But it's like the quintessential Souls experience to me is you're adventuring through a hostile land, you hit a boss, and then you're just like hard fucking stuck on that boss. And you just spend like 3 hours of your night just running in there and dying over and over and over. And I think that when you have the experience in Elden Ring to like get to Margit and be like, oh, this is like a little hard for me right now, I'm going to go like explore Limgrave some more. I think it is cool, and it's like a different flavor of Souls games, but it loses something about the sort of like semi on rails, like bashing your head against a wall fun that I think is what Souls games are like about for me. I don't know. So I just want
No, I agree. Yeah, I had a similar issue with Elden Ring where it felt like I sort of forced myself to play it in that way. That sort of Dark Souls 1 and 2 bash your head against the wall. I mean, the tree sentinel that you see as you walk out of the tutorial area in Elden Ring. I think I fought that for like 4 hours until I got it, which was really hard, but to me, that's the fun of Dark Souls. Is when you're put up against a challenge and you have to master it, as opposed to being like, I'm not strong enough, or I don't feel confident enough, or I don't want to waste my time. I'll go do something more interesting and come back to it. Makes it more appealing, for sure. I think that's the reason Elden Ring has done so well, is that like anyone can play it, even if you don't like that feeling, or if you do, you can just force yourself to do it. But yeah, it's a totally different experience compared to Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's the Tree Sentinel's a great example actually, because it is sort of, this has been said by many people, but it is sort of the mission statement of Elden Ring, where you get into that world, you're immediately thrust into an incredibly hard boss fight that's just hanging out in the world, and it's essentially trying to tell you, hey, like, you're going to hit challenging things in this world that you're not ready for. It's okay to just like, there's 360 degrees of freedom. You don't have to go into the 5 degrees that lead you to the Tree Sentinel. You can bounce off, you can run past him, you can just ignore him. But I kind of feel like, as much as that is the strength of Elden Ring, it also reveals the weakness of Elden Ring, which is that, like, imagine you're like Harry Houdini and you're like in the tank full of water underwater, and it's like you're all chained up and you have to like undo it or whatever, right? I feel like Dark Souls is like, you better undo it or you're gonna drown because there's no way out of here. And Elden Ring is like, you have the key in your hands, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna choose not to use it. I'm gonna keep like trying to unlock it, and then eventually you're like, fuck it. Like, I have the key. Like, the option is there for it's not like easy mode, but I feel like that's almost a good sort of like proxy analogy for what it is like. Is, there's been infinite discussion on difficulty settings and accessibility around Souls games and stuff, and as much as I am an advocate of accessibility, I'm also like a Souls freak, and I think that like having like easy mode built into a game like that creates sort of like a pressure valve to like let off the pressure that makes these games special, which is that like it should kind of like suck sometimes. Like, I think friction in games is so important for creating special experiences, and I think that like the stakes of Souls games is part of that, but I think the other part of it is just being like, I can't play the rest of this game unless I fucking kill this guy, and I want to play the rest of this game. So like, you walk away after 2 hours of failed attempts, and like last night I fought a boss for 2 hours in Dark Souls 2, and I was like, fuck this, and I quit, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it one more time, and I went back and did it one more time and beat him, and it was like, it was so cathartic to me, and I was like, I haven't felt anything close to this in Night Rain. Even though they're, the bosses are tough and there is like a feeling of accomplishment when you do it, there's just something about that tight loop of just like bashing your head against a wall.
Just fighting the boss. Because you don't have to like go fight shitty bosses and then get to the one you want to fight. You just fight it
totally.
Over
there
and
might
over
be like a lead up to it and stuff, and that is a separate thing, but it's shorter, it's a tighter loop, and it's like, in Night Rain, when you fail a boss, it's there, is a list of other available bosses to go do. And it's like, you can, in very Elden Ring fashion, bounce off it and go do something else. And I think having that option sort of, it's not that it like cheapens the experience. It's just like a different flavor of experience. Having no choice but to just like overcome it, I think is when Souls games shine for me. One last point to like illustrate this is that I've talked about this before, but the game Unsighted, it's a top-down 2D action RPG, very, very good game. Highly recommend it. I liked that game for the entire playthrough. Like, I liked it but didn't love it. And then I got to the final boss, and it was such a jump up in difficulty that it felt like for the first time I had to attain some level of mastery with the systems in this game. Whereas before I could kind of like half understand thing and squeak through, I could just like do a boss a couple times and play like okay and just kind of like get it done. But the last boss felt like it was like, it's like the end of Sekiro. It's like you either fucking express your mastery of every mechanic in the game at this point through a guy who has like 7 health bars, or you don't beat the game and you're right up against the end of the game. And it's like, there's like a million Reddit threads that are like, oh, I got to the last guy in Sekiro. This game fucking sucks. Like, I'm never going to beat this. I hate this. Like, I liked this game until now. And I think, taking a creative risk as a game designer to push people to that point is like, that's what I like about FromSoft, is that they're like willing to push people that far. And I think, it's not that suffering is good. It's that like the potential for suffering is proportionally related to the potential for having like a deeper experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that was what the appeal of the earlier Souls games was. Like Demon Souls, Dark Souls. It was like a whole new world, both interactively. Like the controls were different from everything up until that point, so you had to get used to that. And then that gameplay loop of like, yeah, fighting the same string of enemies. I think for a lot of people, at least especially for me when it came out, was like so novel and different from everything up until that point. It wasn't that linear progression with a pretty straightforward combat system. It wasn't another hallway shooter. It was like, oh, now you're playing something where your mastery, like you're saying, your mastery and understanding of the mechanics is a requirement for having fun. Like that's what you're there for, is to beat the game, not reach the credits and say I beat it, but like literally you have to feel so good that you're reading animation cancels, right? Like I feel like, at least for me, when I'm playing those games like Sekiro or whatever, mastering the iframes on a dodge roll, like when you're doing that sort of thing in a game, whether it's a fighting game or a Dark Souls or whatever, that's when you're literally beating the game. And there's not many wildly successful, or at least in terms of the game space, enthusiast level stuff, that where that's the main thing, right? Is like learning how to master those aspects of it and really overcoming the game in the same way that the Souls games do.
Yeah,
really cool.
It's like when you play a game, there's pieces of video games have like design intention behind them, and I think that like if you can like, it's like watching a movie and not understanding what they were trying to say with it. It leaves you feeling kind of like weird and like it didn't click with you or something. You're just like watch a movie and you're like, I don't know what that meant. I don't know what they were trying to say with that. It just like it happened and then it was over. I feel like with games, it's like if the design intention is like not sufficiently clear, or you can beat the game without sort of like comprehending the design intention, it leaves me with a lesser feeling than like Souls games. The design intention of these rooms is so like, it's so strict with you that you have to like comprehend it. Like there's a hallway in Dark Souls 2 where there's the whole hallway is filled with poisonous goop, and if you run through it, it'll cover you in poison if you stay in it too long. But the end of the hallway is an archer, and so like in that case, there's no design intention where it's like, oh, this is the right way to get through it. It's almost like a joke through game design where it's like to deal with the archer, you have to dodge roll through the hallway. But if you dodge roll through the hallway, you're spending more time in the poisonous goop that'll kill you. And it's like design intention doesn't necessarily mean that there's a right way to do it, but it's like you should feel something, even if that feeling is like, fuck, they fucked me both ways. There's no right way to deal with this. And I think like, I was thinking a lot about immersive sims when I was playing Dark Souls 2 last night, because I often think unconsciously about immersive sims as like the design intention is open-ended. You can do it any way. But I don't think that's actually accurate. Yeah. I think the design intention of an immersive sim is like it's having a finite number of very specific design intentions that you can comprehend. And it's like, if you say you approach a situation and you can either like hack the terminal, kill everyone, or stealth in, there's sort of like 3 ways you can funnel into that situation. But the trick that it pulls on you is feeling like there's an infinitude of approach and that you're getting to decide how to approach it. But ultimately it is like, even very open game design is funneling you down into these like sort of concrete design intentions. And so yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's Souls games. It's not like there's an infinitude of approaches other than, different builds and like magic versus having a great sword or whatever. But it is like, you really have to comprehend what they're intending with an encounter. You have to understand the encounter, and you have to like line up with the design intention of it and kind of like feel what they were going for in order to overcome it. So it forces you into actually comprehending the design intention rather than just like squeaking through most of the time.
Yeah, it's like you have to kill that archer regardless. It doesn't really matter in what way that you do it or how funny it is. I mean, I think that's what makes the Souls games so funny, is like they are very much a slapstick series of games. I mean, how many clips from Elden Ring are just like an enemy showing up when it wasn't supposed to and landing on a character or something, or you accidentally jumping off of something. It has that open-endedness like you're saying, but it's still very much like, go beat this boss, it's at the end of the room, or it's, go here, climb the elevator, go up the stairs, and maybe there's something at the end. Don't get hit by the boulder. That, to me, when I think of Dark Souls, that first moment in the first Dark Souls where you like go talk to the NPC who's like, I'm dying, please take my goods, and then you turn the corner and you get hit with a boulder coming down the stairs, that is the whole series as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. It's just they swap the boulder out with different
it's
enemies.
is it what the fuck is it? Takeshi's Castle is the game show with the It's I feel like the best the Souls games at their best are outside of the boss fights, obviously, are just like Takeshi's Castle, where it's like you're walking on like a slippery platform and there's like guys shooting arrows at you or something. It's like a fucking
You try to fit into a perfectly
Yeah.
shaped hole in the wall.
It's like a good
Yeah.
Dark Souls dungeon is like a actively hostile physical challenge on a game show or something.
They should make an MXC version of the Souls.
Yeah,
games,
well,
where it's
MXC
just Americans.
was Takeshi's
yelling
Castle,
over it.
right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but then they dubbed it. Right?
Yeah. I was just trying to remember the name because I always knew it as MXC, but it is Takeshi's Castle.
Don't get eliminated.
Yeah, but anyway,
Maybe less racist though. Maybe they should do that and be a little.
just do like a
little less
sincere
racist.
dub.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
there you go.
Scholar for Sin, very good. I know Dark Souls 2 is polarizing. Some people think Dark Souls 2 is polarizing, but then Scholar is even more polarizing, where there are people who are like, they ruined Dark Souls 2. Some people are like, they improved it. I just think it's like a different version that's like kind of fucking, it's more ridiculous sometimes, but I'm loving it.
Can I posit you a hypothetical where you have to guess the future of the games industry?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, can you just like perfectly decide what's going to happen? So okay, Elden Ring, it feels like it's their lineage up until this point from Software in terms of their game design. I don't know, were they trying to make something more accessible? Were they trying to make Elden Ring where it sits on that barometer? I think is hard for some people to determine, other than the people who worked on the game. But what do you think? Do you think they go further next, or do you think they go tighter? Because Sekiro was between 3 and Elden Ring, right? And that was a lot tighter. That was a lot more of a linear focused action game, where Elden Ring is so big. Now they've got Dusk Bloods, where they're going multiplayer along with Night Rain. Do you think their next single player thing is going to be Elden Ring focused, where it's sort of more broad and open, or do you think they go a little tighter?
I think if it was most other studios, they would just be like, oh,
we would just get Elden Ring
you
too.
would get Elden Ring too, because they would see, oh shit, Elden Ring was like so popular, everyone loved it. Even like, I know people who had never played a Souls games, like ton of people who never played Souls games, and were like, oh, I got like Elden Ring and God of War 2018 on my PlayStation. Like it transcended to the like non-capital G gamers. I think most studios would be like, well, we got cash on our hands, let's don't leave money on the table, let's make Elden Ring too. I think FromSoft and Miyazaki specifically kind of like to buck trends intentionally. I don't think it's like contrarianism. I think it's just a desire to kind of like push the envelope. And so you see that in like, the asymmetrical multiplayer. Like people have been begging for seamless co-op forever, and it's clearly like technically possible because there are seamless co-op mods for a lot of the Souls games and for Elden Ring, and they work great. So the infrastructure is there, but I feel like their ethos is to kind of like push against what the expected is and do something a little left field. And that's why like, even though Duskbloods is on a system that I don't want to buy necessarily, it's like it's a format that I'm not really that interested in, the like PvP VE kind of thing. Despite all of that, I feel like the reason they were able to sort of like invent the soul genre is because they were doing something unexpected. And like if you go back and read about Demon Souls, the first time they showed it, a bunch of like, I think it was like Shuhei Yoshida played it on the show floor at like E3 or Tokyo Game Show or something. It was like, this game fucking sucks. Like, and the first showing of Demon Souls was like a disaster. People were like, this game sucks. Is this like a prototype, or like, what is this crap? And I think that it speaks to their like willingness to sort of like try weird shit. And I think that's the only way you find new interesting like genres, like new interesting types of games, is by trying weird shit. So I feel like my hopeful answer is that after Duskbloods, they'll probably just do something hopefully very unexpected. I feel like Sekiro is pretty unexpected. Elden Ring is probably the most sort of like expected move they could have made. So I'm hoping it does not trend more in that direction, and that they just do like, God of War, but with Dark Souls combat. But this is my real answer, and this is the final fucking hyperfixation rant about Dark Souls. This is the last thing I'll say. The ultimate Dark Souls game is Night Rain is so fun to play with other people. I just think the format is kind of like hollow after a while. If they just made like a fucking co-op, hollow. Very. I saw that smirk. If they just made like a co-op dungeon crawler, If you could if there was a dedicated like a Dark Souls 2, but it was made to play with 2 other people, with you and your friends, and you're going around doing dungeons with your friends, that would probably be the greatest game ever made. Like a
Well, do I have a $630 answer
Well,
for you? It's called the Dustbloods.
I don't know if Dustbloods is
releasing
gonna
in October.
I'm
No, I don't know
I'm
what it's
thinking
gonna
like imagine like the format of like an MMORPG, but with Souls combat. That would be the ultimate fucking game. Is like if you're
Here's the thing, Jeremy. No, here's the thing. I get what you're saying, but also every single publisher has pitched that to whoever their biggest developers. It's like World of Warcraft, but you press R1 to attack. That's every single person.
Obviously, it's the most obvious idea imaginable, but it is like.
But if they do it good, then it'll be good.
No one else can do it for me. I've played every fucking like I've tried like Liza P. I've tried.
You're not a Lords of the Fallen.
I've
fan?
tried like fucking. Yeah. I've tried all of these other Souls. I don't need to list off all the other Souls games that I don't like. None of them hit for me. There is some sort of intangible thing that FromSoft can do that no one else can do. And so like even if it seems odd, I don't even want like a fucking. What if Dark Souls was an MMO? Like, like it's an idea you say after 3 beers with your friends at the bar. I just think if they made like a dedicated co-op dungeon crawler that was more about a longitudinal journey, it would be the greatest game ever made.
What if it was in first person and was perhaps in a field?
If they make Kingsfield 5 or 6 or whatever number they're on, I'll support them.
Or why not? They did Armored Core 6. That's, I feel like that's the next logical step. Bring some more IP to the future.
Queensfield, huh?
Yeah, it is 2025. They changed the name because of woke.
Anyway, I'd play it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the impassioned conversation about Dark Souls. I feel like that was incredibly elucidating. Is that the word? It was cool. I had not considered all of that stuff, but you really you brought to mind a lot of things that I hadn't considered.
Sometimes sometimes you just get like.
Sometimes you're on it.
Get hyper fixated, and you think too much about Dark Souls.
Yeah. You and everyone else. You should do a video essay about it.
Yeah, I would like to.
Actually,
it's funny you say video essay because I was going to say this earlier, and then we moved on to Dark Souls. But I got a fucking great crew video to pitch to you guys. All right, if you make YouTube videos and you're listening to this, don't steal this idea.
Shut your
don't fucking
damn
steal.
ears.
You can
Stop
do it,
listening.
but wait till I do it first, and then you can do your version of it. What if we play every Stephen King inspired video game?
Yes. You're a genius.
That have to include Half-Life and Resident
Evil.
Evil.
Okay, we can play Half-Life and Resident Evil.
All right.
There's
What do you
not
call it?
that many of them. Stephen King's The Mist. There's a text adventure.
Oh my god!
But this is why the video is
man.
great, is because they're all kind of dog shit. 1998 Blue by.
Is there a Misery game? There must be, right? If not,
Okay,
can we
in
make
the
it?
Misery game, before we look up if it exists, do you play as Kathy Bates or do you play as the James?
It's an asynchronous multiplayer game. You play as one of the
Okay,
two.
now we're fucking cooking. That's a
Right?
good game.
There you
Okay,
go.
so
Dude, did you see this?
What?
There's a game called Stephen. Guys, look at your keyboard when I say this. This is gonna freak you out.
I saw
There's
this.
a-
too. I saw this.
There's
What a
a
sentence.
game called Stephen King's F13.
Holy shit, dude!
Whoa, but that doesn't
Holy
exist.
All I see is the
What?
print screen button. What's going on, man? That's so funny.
Is that on itch.io? I'll download it right now.
F13. Oh,
That's
control.
scary.
Okay, the tagline, the marketing was Control Alt Shiver.
That's sick. Holy shit! I wish we
Okay,
still.
I like this
I wish we
idea.
still did names for the podcast because Control Alt Shiver would be the name of this episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so.
So here's the
sick.
thing: do this, pitch it again when his holiness is back, and then we'll say call it On Gaming.
On gaming. Oh,
Stephen King's
shit.
On Gaming.
That's good.
Oh, this is so funny.
Wait, okay, hold on. Stephen King's F13. We can't just move on from this. The collection, which is
Okay, is this a mini game collection?
It's
Is that
a
what I
collection
read?
of
Yeah.
casual games developed by Presto Studios, released in 1999 to 2000 by Blue Byte. The title F13 suggests a function key that would follow F12 on a standard PC keyboard. That is the
They
Family
have
Guy bit.
F13 on a Mac keyboard though, don't
I
they?
don't know.
It's like the function
Okay.
key or something, some made up Apple.
This
crap.
that literally is the Stephen King Family Guy bit where they're like, all right, what do you got for us? And he's like looking at he's like, what if there was another key? The collection, which is marketed as quote unquote frightware,
Oh my
includes several mini
goodness.
games. Let's see what they are. There's only 3 listed here. Maybe these are I guess is several 3? That feels short. No swimming, a virtual aquarium in which players can feed various animals, a dog, rhinoceros, and a horse to the fishes. If the fish are not fed, they lunge against the glass and leave cracks. Whoa. Bug Splat, a whack-a-mole style game which involves squashing bugs with a hammer. and Whack-a-Zombie, which is similar to Bug Splat. That's a bad... If you got 3 games, it's very bad if one is similar to the other 2. Except the player smashes zombies emerging from... Okay, so it's just like whack-a-mole, and...
Okay, can you please... You have to include the most important part of this. Read on.
Additionally, the bundle includes a digital copy of Stephen King's short novella, Everything's Eventual, a set of scream savers, bump and thump sound effects, and desktop backgrounds.
Get it? Instead of desktop.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. This is awesome. Frank, what a find.
All right,
okay.
F13.
How do we really need to figure out some sort of retro thing where the games are bad. But even just the Stephen King one is good because you do Half-Life and there's your free excuse, but then you open with F13 because you have to. I feel like that's pretty important.
I do feel like we should
great.
do a retro series called The Games Are Bad.
Yeah, the games aren't all right. Call it that.
I feel like we should I just want to play shitty old games. I mean, or good old games, but not like...
We'll call you the angry video game nerd. Wait,
this
no.
game's shittier than a
else.
donkey on a whatever. I don't know what he would say.
Donkey's ass or whatever.
I did. Yeah, F13 is available on the on Internet Archive. It's a part of a on Internet Archive. Everyone it has collection. It's part of a software clearance bin collection.
This is a real Walmart.
Yeah, where would you find this? This would have been in a bin.
Yeah.
For $1.
I feel like bookstores would have sold garbage PC games at the checkout.
Yeah.
Probably would have been there. Bug Splat. It's only 3 mini games. Yeah, Scream Savers. There's also Frightmare Trivia. I'm just reading off the back of the box now. You can barely read it. There's something called Creature Under My Bed. I don't know. Terror Eyes. I don't know. It's rated T for teens. It can't be that.
You should hire someone to develop Stephen King's F14, the sequel.
Yeah. I think we should play this.
Yeah.
I'm into it. There were a couple others. Oh god, I lost the list now. I fucking never mind.
Alan Wake, probably, right? A little bit.
Oh, that's super Stephen King inspired.
Yeah. The Mist, F13, the Lawnmower Man game.
No,
which looks like dog shit. The Dark Half is looks like a point and click adventure.
I started reading that and I forgot about it. It's cool. The premise of The Dark Half it's so cheesy. It's basically like, I don't know. He always comes with Nathaniel Brown is a popular horror writer and he's made millions.
Lives in Derry, Maine, or whatever.
Yeah, he lives in Derry, Maine. He's a popular horror author. No one knows where he gets his ideas from. And then he goes to sleep, and in the middle of the night, bodies start piling up. He basically has split personality. So at night he's a serial killer, and then in the morning he wakes up as an author. He's like, I got a good idea for a book, and he writes about the murders he does, and then the Dark Half takes over. But I started reading, it was actually pretty cool. It was like a book I read for half a plane ride, and it's on my shelf. But Dark Half is kind of sick. So if there's a game that I don't know, that sounds sick.
All right.
How was there never a The Shining game, by the way? That seems free.
It'd be a tough game. What would you do in that game?
No, I'm not saying a realistic recreation of it, like a bad licensed game where it's just the bit where you go crazy.
Something Resident Evil-esque where you're in the hotel, the mansion, looking for clues. Maybe there are monsters, just because why not? I don't know. I feel like Resident Evil, if you didn't have the zombies, that's basically The Shining. You're just going around.
The atmosphere is cool. Right? You could talk to the bartender
you
a bunch.
What if you played as Danny the kid? His name was Danny the Kid, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Sure. That was his full legal name, Danny the Kid.
No relation to Billy. You play as the kid with The Shining, and it's like a clock tower style game where you're hiding in fucking wardrobes and shit from ghosts.
Hiding from Jack Nicholson. I can't do it.
That was pretty good. That was not bad.
Thank you. That's a good idea. I like that. There's so many. Yeah, there's a lot of angles you could take with it. You could have be different characters that you play as over time. You do this chapter you're Jack. This chapter you're
Shelley Duvall,
Billy the Kid, or whatever. Yeah.
There's a real meta chapter where you play as Shelley Duvall, the actress, and Kubrick is screaming at you after 100 takes. You're not crying hard enough.
I'm not going to cast you in AI, and then I'll die before I finish it.
Damn, got his ass.
Spielberg will take over.
Got his ass.
Yeah. It's okay. He made 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's the Kanye thing. He made Graduation. It's okay.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
It's not. Yeah, it's not okay. It wasn't even that good of an album. Okay. I feel like the Stephen King hour is over. Are there any more thoughts on Stephen King?
The Stand is a really good book that's about he wrote that like in the 70s, but it kind of like, it was before COVID, but it was basically about a pandemic that wipes out like 90% of the population. So a band of survivors go to 2 separate camps. Then like the 2 camps go at war with one another. It's like a 1,000 page book, but The Stand is really good. So if you're looking for another Stephen King book to spend a year on, The Stand is good. That's it.
And what was the collection of short stories you recommended? Skeleton Crew?
If people are generally looking for a starter, Skeleton Crew, just because you get like a dozen stories and they're all completely different like territories, so you get to see them do sci-fi. I think The Jaunt is in there. Let me see if that's in there. The Jaunt, if that's in Skeleton Crew, then you should absolutely read. Yep, it's in. So The Jaunt is a premise of, in the future, people can go to other planets, and how you do this is you get in like a pod and you jaunt. You are like vaulted across space and time. The journey can take years, but it feels like 10 seconds. And like there's something where like the kid doesn't close the door properly, or like he doesn't take the drug. So like he's awake for 14 years.
That's the plot of that fucking what is it, Rocket Man? The fucking wait, someone knows what I'm talking about. We talked about it on the podcast recently. Hold on.
There's like a movie, right?
Rocket
with Chris
Man.
Pratt or whatever.
That's Passengers, which is, I think, is a similar idea.
I think someone wakes up in the middle of the journey.
This is the
Passengers,
Harland
the one
Williams
with,
comedy
Jennifer
film
Lawrence.
from 1997,
God.
Rocket Man.
I know.
Where it
yeah.
is kind of like
okay.
Biodome, but in space, or the Pauly Shore movie. Is that Biodome? Yeah. This is Biodome in space with Harland Williams, where he like his pod doesn't close all the way, so he's awake the whole trip to fucking Mars or whatever, and he's just like
Oh my God.
doing fart jokes and eating all the food.
Oh, see, that sounds
Yeah.
good. But yeah, the idea they by the time they land, the kid's like gone crazy because he's lived 14 years without any stimulus, without any TikTok. 14 years, no Fortnite, no Roblox.
Oh man, put me in a box and ship me into the sun. I'm not doing that. I need my Roblox.
That's a Stephen King euphemism. That's a weird. That's like whoa.
You've infected my brain. Now I'm
Seriously,
just
read
doing
Stephen
it by
King,
proxy.
Old man euphemisms start coming back. It's awesome.
I'm not joking. I'm going to buy Skeleton Crew and read
It's
that
really
before
good.
the next recording, because that you have sold me on the Stephen King.
And when you read
book
The Mist, I'm
first.
sure you will see there's sentences where it's like, yeah, these monsters. There was a research facility down the way where they were doing. It's like you'll see the sentence. It's like, oh, that's where they got the like. And wait, Jesse, you specifically took the screenshot and animated that in the Half-Life documentary, right? Didn't you like?
Yeah,
do
I did
motion
take the
graphics?
bit from The Mist.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there
There you go.
Oh my
we're
God.
bringing it full circle.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. That was awesome. I wish we got to talk about more not video game stuff. In fact, we've been running so long now that I think everyone's going to set on fire. So I'll save my video game stuff for next time. But we
Okay.
do have some emails that I want to talk about.
Yes.
Because they were great.
Let's dive into emails. If you want to write to us or send us your scary short stories.
Yes.
Emails, podcast@noclip.video. Or you can send us in our Discord fright chat, the podcast chat channel. Okay, our first comes from Bleck. How do you all view the rise, and I use this term loosely, of competitors in the game documentary space? I ask because IGN released a trailer for a documentary on Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I've seen a few other channels follow in the Noclip footsteps and want to hear your thoughts on the space. Are you secretly jealous when a title you love gets contracted by another channel, or is it more of a rising tide lifts all boats type vibe? At the very least, I think it's nice you have clearly had a positive impact on games media.
This is definitely something I'd like to hear Danny's thoughts on. So if we have the chance to ask him again next week, I think that'd be great. But also, just personally, you can have more than one documentary about a good video game. I mean, if IGN's doing one on Claire Obscure, Skill Up just put one out. It's like an hour and a half of him talking to the devs and everything. Really, really good stuff. There's no limit to the amount of documentaries you can have about whatever, or just talking to developers, because you're always going to find something new, some new angle. And it helps also if you watch the other documentaries first, so you don't cover the same information. But that's, just me. Maybe some people argue that it's, don't, so that you don't color your own way of doing it. There's lots of different approaches. Regardless, I don't know if there's competition, because I mean, at most there's 3 other people who maybe do documentaries about video games. Not the end of the world. I don't know. That's just me though. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you can make like 100 documentaries on the same subject, and you'll get like,
Yeah.
like maybe a 50 different story. Maybe some will be a little reductive, but it's like no, I feel like every time you interview and talk with somebody, you can have a different conversation. So I feel like it's worth
Yeah.
chasing. But yeah, I feel like if an angle gets covered, then it's like oh that they've already talked about this. What else can we talk about, or what's the weird side story? So I think it's like yeah, the more the merry. And I think that the big thing is like it's all about information, also breaking down barriers. So if one team is or like a studio is comfortable talking to this team, then it also paints like I don't know, fires the flare. They're like, oh wait, they're open to talking to people. Okay, let's reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
I could also foresee if like, oh, if there's already maybe it can save resources. Like instead of investing our time in this thing, it's already been covered. Let's chase a thing that hasn't been covered. It can kind of steer the ship in another direction. But yeah, I feel like the more the merrier. Because like. I still don't know if there's even been a definitive documentary on the Resident Evil games. I want to see 100 documentaries about Resident Evil.
Not yet,
So-
Frank.
So there's been some good Archipel. They did a really
Yeah.
good sit down interview with like Shinji Mikami like a decade ago. That's good, but that doesn't mean like no one else can talk to Shinji Mikami. Like oh my god, please like give 100 hours interview him with different people. So I say the more the merrier.
Yeah, ultimately, it's the goal with I mean, I can only speak for myself and what I've contributed to Noclip, but I feel like Danny would resonate with this. That the goal is like to speak to people who work on video games and to kind of humanize the process and to like create an archive of information so that people can, in 10 years when they're like, oh my God, like this game was so, how did they do like the Blue Point remake of Demon Souls? That's crazy. They can go back and watch people who work on it talk about it. And so if there are more people doing this stuff with an eye towards like, sincere preservationist attitudes towards these interviews, and that they're, I mean, as long as people are doing it with the intent of like humanizing devs, preserving information, and like educating and preserving, I think like we're in favor of it. I don't, it's not like we're like, they fucking scooped us again. Like,
Yeah, they're stepping on our toes. Get out of my space. We're the only people allowed to talk to Valve. Move on.
well, that might be true. But no, I don't know. I think it's I don't know if the more the merrier is a little reductionist, but I think if people are doing good games documentaries, you'd be hard pressed to get me to see it as a negative.
Yeah, you're not going to see me be excited about, another Wikipedia article read that calls itself a documentary. Not that there's a ton of those, but if there's more opportunities to talk to people who don't normally do that sort of thing, then yeah, that's great. Especially Japanese developers. I feel like that specific window of games development from like the 80s on, there's nothing in English. You have to either read Japanese or pay someone a lot of money to translate old magazines to find anyone talking about some of this stuff. Like I work with a couple people where, especially Matt McMuscles, where you have to like sort of find the sources. And a lot of times I'm looking for things and I end up on Internet Archive, like trying my best. Like I'm holding up my phone and doing Google Translate to try to see what they're saying in these interviews. And I learned information that I just never would have known about if I didn't do that. So, if anyone, Frank Howley, wants to start talking to some more Japanese developers and gets the opportunity, Danny, send Frank to Japan. I think that would be awesome. Wink.
Jason Schreier has said like his ultimate dream project is to do a book about Final Fantasy, but he said like he even said like I don't think there's enough time for me like to learn Japanese to properly do the project in his like Jason Schreier says he wants to like interview every developer on it for about every Final Fantasy, but he says like because of the language barrier, he doesn't think he'll ever be able to get it done. But I believe in Jason Schreier's project or idea, but like yeah, it's the language barrier is so hard, and even for searching for stuff like. Because for me, I'm always searching for like wrestling stuff, and it's like I have to remember, like, oh yeah, I have to like find out what these characters are in Japanese, and then search for that, and then come up like because so few of it's written in the English characters, stuff like that. So it's like yeah, there's this giant like not like language divide, but I feel like people are, and also even like talking with Capcom, I was curious like how was their like team structure and everything because even in the old not so long ago in the 90s. Developers like for Capcom and Sega and Nintendo would like mask the developers because they didn't want other studios poaching them. So every developer had like a nickname in the credits, but you don't actually know who that person is. So it's like hopefully these days it's easier and easier. And like when Jeremy and Danny got to talk to Square Enix about Final Fantasy, it was
that's
like,
awesome.
oh my god, you guys got to talk to Final Fantasy 14.
There's a reason people bring that up every time you say you work for Noclip. Everyone's like, oh, I love the Final Fantasy 14 documentary. It's because that's the only one. Like no one was ever going to do another one of those. And the fact that it happened at all is crazy. Like at the point that it happened too. Yeah, what a lucky get. That was 8 years ago now, right? 7 years ago.
I think near the very beginning, it was like the third project.
That was around
It was
launch.
a long
Yeah,
time ago.
so maybe even 9. Yeah,
2018,
crazy.
I
You
think.
guys been doing this for a long time.
Yep. Also, if there's a great channel, I've mentioned this channel once before, a million episodes ago, but F_T_B, their at on YouTube is at F_T_B 2238. Tiny channel, under 5K subs. They have a video called Independent Masters of 80s Japanese Horror Games, and it's fucking. I've only seen a couple of their videos since then. I totally forgot about them until you brought this up, but they've done videos on like pretty niche Japanese games and like bits of Japanese games history. Like they have a
sick.
Sokoban and Beyond video that I gotta check out. But yeah, someone who like really knows their shit and is kind of an underappreciated channel, you know, documenting exactly what we're talking about, these sort of like underrepresented periods in Japanese game development history.
There you go. F_T_B on YouTube. They just put out a video called Golf Force and MSX, how a computer standard led to a forward-thinking shooter and a unique adventure. What a good
I'm gonna
title.
like that video.
I want to know
haven't even
more.
watched it yet. I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna
have,
boost that
yeah.
algo.
Yeah, absolutely. As
Let's
you should.
blow this channel. Hey,
Very
if
important.
you're out there, you don't even have to watch this video. Just go.
Let's get them to 10,000
Let's
subscribers.
blow it up.
Make sure you smash that.
Make sure you
subscribe
smash that bell.
button.
I'm only subscribed on one of my YouTube accounts.
Wow. Fake
Oh,
fan.
man.
It's okay. I'll drop a link in the description if you don't want to type and just like clicking on links. I promise it won't be a virus. And you can check them out. Yeah, really good stuff here. Thanks for that shout out, Jeremy. That's awesome. What do we got next on the email front,
Our
Frank?
next is Endo Media. As the medium of video games has grown over the decades, we've seen more games which have defied traditional constraints of what is normally seen as a video game, such as Dare Esther, Immortality, etc. However, there are still arguments over semantics as to whether these are to actually be considered video games due to a lack of fail states, etc. But I think this ignores how many of these examples still use the language of video games and how the player interacts with them. What do you think defines a video game as a medium? In particular, what differentiates it from other mediums? Bonus challenge, make a new name for the medium to replace video games that meets this idea.
Yeah, the space has become so broad. I mean, this was a conversation we had like 10 years ago. Like, what is a video game? Does it count? Honestly, I'm sorry, who cares? Like, it's just, it doesn't, it's the word we use. Should we have a different word? I kind of think so, because it is weird that we have game of the year conversations and like Despelote will be knocked out of a lot of them. Like, I think the remaining games journalists will know that that's pretty important and probably want to include it. But a lot of, you know, like the conversation we were having last year seemed to be sort of split up for a lot of outlets that I was listening to, where it was like, what do we put for number one, guys? 1,000 times resist or Astrobot? And to me, that was a moment of like, maybe we should like broaden the concept here, because those two aren't even on the same totem pole. Like, there's something completely different going on here, right? Do you guys feel similarly, or does it not just matter at all?
I think at least this is like the core tension in my life as someone who like talks a lot about video games and is like working on a couple of games projects, is that like video games can be different things, and sometimes I'm really in the mood for a game that is like, I just had like a hard day and I want to like fire up something that is like more mechanically driven and more sort of like entertainment focused. And sometimes I'm like, I want to interact with like a piece of, I want to see someone pour their soul into a piece of art, and like I don't give a shit if it has like a combat system or if there's like leveling up or XP or whatever. And I think that the fact that that spectrum is just like one medium is ridiculous. I think the definition of this is something I've thought a lot about recently. I think the definition of a video game is that it is like a interactive possibility space. They're like holistic experience machines that you put your brain inside and can like, you know, do things within that possibility space. And how broad or narrow that possibility space is totally depends on what you're trying to do with the game. But yeah, so new video game medium name is holistic possibility machines. Actually, don't use that. That's the name of my game studio, actually. Don't steal that.
Yeah, keep that name. If that was the name that we used, I would put myself in a locker for playing holistic.
Dude, holistic possibility machines is my fucking.
It goes crazy, but like, you sound like you're gonna sell me on an IPA.
I sound like John Lilly inviting you to do ketamine in an isolation chamber.
Yeah, I'm good. I know what happens after that. Frank, how do you feel about this? Because you love video games in this way where everything should be fun.
Yeah,
feel
like I mean, life is a video game. I think
That's right.
Preach,
but
bro.
Life is like a video game.
Like, because I feel like even at Cal State Fullerton, like in 2010, in like radio, TV, film classes, we would have discussions about like every literal form. But to me, it's basically like when I think of it, it's like something that's interactive and on a screen. That's it.
Yep,
Like
that's
now,
all that
you
matters.
can read manga on an iPad. Is that a video game? I think of like if there's choice. So like you could read if it choose your own adventure novels on a screen. Hey, that's a video game. I don't care. Just A or B. But like I'm even that rule. I don't care. So like I just think of something interactive and on a screen. Maybe like I don't know if people are working on 3D brain crap. Whatever. You close your eyes and you're playing a game. Sure. There's no barriers. I think as soon as people start to put up walls, it's like you're making things worse for your own self by like putting up barriers on things. So it's like I don't call tying your shoes a game. Cool. Can I get achievements? I'm in. I want to like. It doesn't matter. I really don't care one way or another. So like, I don't know. So I think of interactive screens. I don't know. That's a.
I think that's the best definition we got so far. If it's on a screen and it's interactive, it's a fucking video game.
Yeah.
That's all I care
but wait,
about.
hold on.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
Bandersnatch a video game? Because that's on a screen and interactive.
Yeah, why not?
Like I would describe that because it's like you're talking about like Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror thing, right? Where it's and like because I know Netflix does as a games. I don't mess with it, but it's like I mean, that is a Sega CD FMV video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that because
Or
like
DVD games, the old Final Destination. You could do that same sort of thing.
and it doesn't necessarily
PlayStation 3.
like mean like I'm dying to play it or I'm excited. You know, like I gave that a shot just because I like Charlie Brooker and he wrote for PC UK mags in the 90s, but it was like a one and done. I was like, I'm good, whatever.
Yeah.
But like they could put that on PS4 and give trophies and be like, oh crap, maybe I gotta get all the.
That's true. I guess like
Is that maybe a better definition? Does it have trophies?
That's my definition. But then I'm also like Mario Kart doesn't have it, but you can unlock stuff like that. That's more personal. Like what's my investment in this? Like if I put something in this as a reward, even if the reward is stupid, I'm in. Like I don't know, and that's a shallow way of looking at it. But yeah, that's why. I don't know. I mean, like museums have video games. Like click this button to learn the timeline of the Civil War. I don't know. But like I like interact. Boop boop boop.
And they literally have video games at museums now too, because it turns out
this is something I've been struggling with so much because there was a game I have not described or talked about on the podcast that I made over the holidays like 6 months ago that I'm going to release at some point this year. And it is like a weird art game. And for the last 6 months off and on, I've been like, is there a way to like, can I add something to this so that it's more recognizable as a traditional video game? And
don't do it.
Like I've agonized over it the last 6 months. And then the other day I finally thought about it again and I was like, I should just like, it's okay if it's just like a weird little interactive experience. Yeah. So I gotta port it over
Video
to
game
Steamworks.
essays, man. It's like that one you were talking about from Nathalie Lawhead, right? Or Natalie, however you say it, if the H is silent, apologies. About like art, right? And the shape of it and its usefulness on the internet and how it's shifted and changed over time. I think they have a lot of that, and they've shared a ton of games like that. There was another one on Itch, Kenny's something, and it was in a similar vein of like, is this a video game? Does it matter? It's an interactive art piece where it's just a story playing out in front of you, and it's an EXE. It's like, how do you define that limit? Does there need to be one? I think Frank, you made a good point of like, who cares? As long as it's interactive and fun, let's do it.
And like growing up in the age of Newgrounds and Flash cartoons and Stephen King's F-13, it's like, I grew up on like computer software where it's like, I mean, like Ski Free to me is a kick-ass game. You're guiding a guy down a slope, but it's like, people would make like dress-up games on Newgrounds. Like, I guess that's a game, color, like MS Paint to me is like a video game. Like that's a drawing program, but like as a kid, I treat it as a game, like just drawing stuff. So I don't know. I think it's I don't know. So I'm very informal with it. I think with any art or I don't know with anything. I feel like there's so little I'm actually formal about. I think people can tell, but like I don't know. So it's whatever. That's my.
I think like
long as it's good.
There's a developer named Droken, Droqen, who has made a bunch of games, but made a game recently called The End of Gameplay that I have not played yet. But I'm familiar with sort of the ideas that have gone into it because I follow their work on social media, and they talk a lot about sort of like games can be whatever we want them to be. If you make a game and it doesn't adhere to traditional structures of what a game is supposed to be, it doesn't have like points or even like objectives. If it's just like an interactive possibility space, that can be like a game can be fucking anything. And I think that's very freeing in the same way that like we've talked about Heda Uma on here, the sort of like scribbly little like Japanese drawings that are kind of like not intentionally bad, but very sort of like rudimentary and simplistic in a way that is charming and appealing. And I think that like it's not that you're like, oh, I'll make like a shitty game and it'll be good as a joke. It's that like I struggle with this a lot myself when I'm working on game stuff, is like, oh, this needs to be like a one-man band version of what larger studios with budgets are doing. I need to like have this game trick people into thinking it's more than it is. And it's like, I think embracing games being like scribbly and weird and janky and fucked up is part of what will make them more interesting moving forward. I think that's part of why Psycho Patrol R is fucking cool, because it's like that and like Cruelty Squad embrace the fucking weird jank, and that's why they're interesting, is because I want to play games that feel like they were made by people who like don't make games. That doesn't mean they're not good. It means that they're like outside of the sphere of like reference that games are supposed to adhere to. And I think the farther we get from that, I mean, that's why I'm always fucking shouting from the rooftops that if you want to make games, you should like make a game inspired by like a weird painting you saw, or by Stephen King.
Or a unique experience, like your life. There are things that have happened in your life, whether it's good or bad or sad or traumatic or happy, it doesn't matter. There's been something you've done that you could weirdly gamify, not necessarily make like bars that go up when you go to the doctor enough, but like, you could look at the world and interactions, or trying to navigate a train station in a new country like that you could make a game out of that. Anything could be a video game. It doesn't have to be some combat focused thing. Like there are tons of demos that I played during Next Fest that had combat, and I was like, you don't need this. Like, I don't need to fight anything, I don't know.
No, agreed.
Just,
I mean,
I
I bring up Will Wright like every 3 episodes, but Will Wright's inspiration for The Sims was literally that his house burned down, and he was like buying software to like design a new house, and saw that like a ton of people were buying more people were buying house design software than there were people who were building houses actually. And so he was like, oh, maybe there's just something like joyful about this process of like design and creation and stuff. And I mean, that's like, I don't know, like The Sims isn't even like goal oriented. It's like sandbox. You just are like, I want to get my guy a job so he can, master the guitar.
Maybe for you it's not goal oriented. For me, I'm trying to make sure that they can die as funny as possible.
But you picked the goal. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, true.
Think about it.
Well, for now, until the next one, when AI picks the goals.
When there are quests.
Yes, powered by ChatGPT. Thank you, EA. Okay, there's one more email, Frank, before we all set on fire from this heat.
Ed Mercer, in an age where realism in video games is synonymous with graphical fidelity, what are some of the ways in games that really evoke a sense of place for you? For example, Indiana Jones with ray tracing and shiny graphics does a fantastic job at bringing to life real-world locations and eras, but something like Dungeons of Hinterberg, another Austrian indie gem, captures the essence of being in the Alps while keeping the stylized art, though through the characters and actions you take. Frank, you can only pick one Shibuya-inspired game.
They got your ass. They did.
Shibuya is in Needy Streamer Overdose.
There you go. There's your pick. Done. That's it.
Yeah.
No.
But like the number one game I thought of was like Yakuza. Like, but specifically, it's like the sounds and details, which is like the specific like siren sounds, like the Tokyo like the Tokyo sirens make, and then like going into convenience store, all the like chimes and even like the jingles, like, and this chatter. Like, I did this during quarantine before I even like went to Japan. Is like, I just like the ambient sound. So I would like have Kiryu in Kabukicho, and I would just like read, but having like the chatter and stuff in the background. Persona does this too, but like that ambient sound was like so evocative of a place I'd even been to. And then once I went and then came back, I booted up Yakuza, and it was like, oh my God, they nailed it. I was so blown away. And now when I watch like anime and hear the ambulances, I'm like, oh my God, like I'll think of Yakuza first as opposed to actually being in Tokyo. So for me, it really was like the like details and sound. And I remember my friend Heather, she has a podcast called like How to Get Played, she wrote an essay when Last of Us 1 came out, and she talked about like the sound effects of like the backpack unzipping and like taking pictures and like the clacks of like the camera lenses and things, like how that sound effects was so much more important than anything else in the game. And I feel like that, like, I don't know, really came true through Yakuza, was just the sound of just the city, not even like punching or beating up. It's just like going into a convenience store, and Hiroshamase was like, oh, that's it. So that was my answer, is sound in Yakuza.
That's a really good pick. I have a similar feeling about Sleeping Dogs, Hong Kong, the main city in that one. It's, for me, going places. I love nature. We love trees, don't we? But I like culture more to me. Like, I like going to big cities because I like seeing the ways that people navigate them and like the shape and way that they impact the spaces. Like, it's not just about maneuvering through it. It's seeing and hearing regular stuff. How many people go to a cafe, the conversations that you hear on the street, the sort of passing by, hey, Steve, nice to see you. How are the kids? That sort of stuff. So playing Sleeping Dogs and seeing that version of Hong Kong, to me, is defined by the barks that you hear as characters are like doing their day-to-day stuff. When you bump into them and they go like, hey, watch where you're going. Like, that stuff to me is really funny. There's a series of lines from one character in particular. I will not do the accent because it's awful. But it's this pork bun salesman. Like, it's a hot food place. And, who say, just stupid lines. I don't know what they're drawing from in particular, but I imagine it's the street food vendors that are trying to get your attention all the time. He'll say like, a man who never has a pork bun is never a whole man. Stuff like that, just yelling it at you from the street. Lines that make no sense, that would be on a t-shirt that I think says like eat, pray, love or something in in Cantonese, but it doesn't. So that sort of thing for me is like, I like in the same way that you like Yakuza for the sounds and everything. It's like, that's part of what I liked about Yakuza is like the side conversations that you hear, the random moments where the store has a big line because there's like a new game or something. That sort of stuff to me is the big hit. What about you, Jeremy? I know that you have a lot of love for this stuff.
I think the best recent example for me is actually, it's shocking as an answer, I feel like, because I feel like both of you guys' examples are sort of like these big games that do like a lot of sort of like background storytelling and texture and stuff. And that's a thing that takes a lot of production time and work. Like, a ton of work goes into making those things feel good. But sort of like a counter example that does it in a different way is Anthology of the Killer. I think
I knew it.
I think Anthology of the Killer does a lot of heavy lifting with sort of like implied world building. And I think that this might be the key to sense of place for me is things that are not directly supportive of or related to the main thrust of the game, but things that are sort of like important but not necessary. Things like little details about like how the world functions. The fact that Bibi and her sister like go out into the world and poach like items and sell them on the internet to pay their rent and stuff is like, it doesn't go too deeply into like, oh, there was like an apocalypse and like, it's not doing like a Last of Us fucking like, and then there was the, May 7th, the outbreak happened. It's just like, the world is different than your world. And here is these little breadcrumbed glimpses. Sort of the pinnacle of the way I like refer to that type of world building in my mind is at the end of Blade Runner when what's his face? I haven't seen this movie in a billion years, but he says like, I've seen things you can't imagine. It's like the Tears in the Rain monologue where he says like, I've seen, gunships over the shoulder of Orion or whatever. It's like, this is like gunships over the shoulder of Orion world building, where it's like, you don't even need to know anything about it. You just hear that and you're like, oh shit, there's so much that is considered beyond what I'm able to interface with this in this world. And it gives it a sense of place, not because I am able to touch those things, but because I'm not able to touch those things, but they are considered and thought out.
Yeah, totally. When you can see something on the horizon, I feel like, and it's not something you can go to, there's almost more value in that because you start painting around it. Like Avowed, that new Obsidian game from this year, that, I should go back and finish. It has a lot of that where like in the background, you'll see a building or a structure or like an event that happens. And all you can do is sort of inquire about it, but you don't get to go to it. It's lore building in this way where like the whole world isn't accessible to you. Or even in Citizen Sleeper 2, like where you sit on that game is going to be personal, especially considering its just relative shape compared to the first Citizen Sleeper. But I think because it's so much bigger, but also still very intimate and focused on its characters and its specific places that you get to go to, there's a lot of like how big the universe is and its impossible depth that you never really get to explore, but you do get to learn just enough about it that you know how big it can be, or at least you know how little you know about what that really is. And to me, I find that incredibly exciting. I do still like the core stuff of like bigger games where they really get into it. Like, you know, going hunting in Red Dead Redemption 2 is beautiful. I could do that for hours. But also, yeah, I'm totally with you that like when you get just enough and you get to take that moment and really put the pieces together yourself, or like realize that the whole jigsaw is missing 100 pieces and all you have is like these tiny little misshapen ones with like 4 prongs on them. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that lives in your heart forever.
This is the last thing I'll say about it, because I know we're all melting in 100-degree heat. But for me, the like implied world building is so powerful, because it is like it kind of is directly connected to what we were saying earlier about like weirder games made by fewer people with smaller budgets, and like it directly feeds into that, in the sense that if you there's a fucking doc that we're gonna put out at some point that we haven't announced yet, so I can't say what it is, but it directly taps into this. So look forward to something more about this if you find this interesting. That if you give the player if they can see that there is something beyond the horizon, that player will like continue to go, because they know that around the corner there is something unexpected that they may or may not be able to interface with. But if as soon as you can mentally model the rest of what's over the horizon, as soon as you can predict what's around the corner, the game loses its thrust, because now you can just like predict the rest of the game. And so for me, even though like, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2's hunting system is like insane and immaculate and like has like crazy depth to it, when I hunt one animal in Red Dead Redemption 2, I immediately can model what it will be like to hunt every animal, though there will be like slight variance in how it unfolds. Whereas when I get like BB and her sister talking about like going out and poaching for items, it projects an infinite world of narrative possibility that to me is more powerful, because it is like it is a curated, bespoke bit of world building, as opposed to a mechanically driven thing that will unfold. I'm not able to mentally model how it will unfold, or like even predict if it will develop any more beyond that. But because it's like, I wonder if I'll get to experience more of that in the future in this game, that to me is like having that possibility floating out there is like a more powerful motivator for me than being like, oh, and I can do this activity like in 100 different ways 100 different times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, but also I feel like the context around the stuff. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a weird one, because it's like you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
I feel like, where it's not about necessarily like the linear narrative stuff is good. Yeah, we're getting overheated. I don't want to push it too far, but like I agree with you that there's also parts of doing that stuff, of those mechanically focused things that may not necessarily have a certain amount of open-endedness to them, but they also offer opportunities to like be injected into the narrative. So there's good and bad.
I think that like I don't think either is superior. I just think it is exactly, interesting that like they're even in the same conversation of like this insanely high fidelity systems driven mechanical thing that took like hundreds of people years to make, versus like a dude who wrote like one line of like flavor text. And it's the fact that those two things are like pulling weight in the same category, to me, I think is fascinating from like a game design perspective, that you can do.
Well, that's the power of our medium of holistic
experience machines.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying is like, that's why games are exciting to me, is because like, I feel like we're just sort of, I don't know, we're just figuring out what the fuck games can do. So like, I don't know. It's a young medium. That's the shit that excites me, though. I
think it's Remy Sue from Sunset Visitor, 1,000 Times Resist, did a speech at the Peabody Awards when they won the Peabody Award for Best Fiction or whatever in games. They should have just won Best Fiction, period. But like when they won the award, it was like, this is a new medium that, you know, we're still in the silent movie era. I feel like everyone says that, where it's like, we're not even close to figuring out what this is yet. We need to take more chances, take more risks, and fund things that are strange on the edge of society and on the edge of art. That's where the future of games is. It's not here in the center. It's when you sort of break free.
Fucking bars.
Hell
Preach.
Yeah. Right? I don't know if I'm speaking that verbatim or if that came out of my brain, but I just compressed the much smarter thing into a sentence I could say while I'm on fire. Speaking of which, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We need to escape. Lots of cool stuff from Noclip. If you didn't already, like I said, watch Frank's great Jet Set Radio video about that event in California. You should totally watch that. It is a ton of fun. You'll learn a ton of really interesting stuff, I think, about not just the development of that game, but also fun things you could do in line, like smoke fat doinks and enjoy yourself while you're waiting in line in the burning California sun. We also have more quick looks you could check out. We did one on Peak, which is a pretty good video that you should watch. We, showed you how to play it. We have a tutorial for the controls in the middle of it. It's you'll know everything. By the end of it, you'll be an expert on Peak. We have more stuff like that coming in the future. Maybe one for needy streamer overload, or overdose if you're cool. And maybe a new series on Stephen King video games. I really like the idea of that. Thank you for listening. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/noclip. You can give us money so that we have good internet that doesn't cut out in the middle. Don't worry about that. That has nothing to do with anything. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Danny will be back with more talk of his vacation and being on the beach. We'll see you then. Play VeggieTales. Play it on the PS2 today. Bye.